Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to be making some dish soap, and we're going to actually be putting them in. I'm going to be putting the soap in these bowls. I have all kinds of different bowls that I got, and we're just going to make some dish soap. It's a hard bar of dish soap, and today I'm going to be making a very large batch. I'm making, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 15 or 16 of these bowls of soap to get ready. They're going to need to cure for a little bit before, they need to cure and dry out some, so that the longer they dry out before they're used, the better and harder the bar will be, or the bowl will be, and so it'll last a really, really long time. Just for an example, this is one of the bowls of soap that I made some time ago, and I just had extra. This was my grandmother's bowl, so I had some extra, so I just poured it in, or dumped it into this bowl. So this is what we're going to be making today, and when I sell my soaps, if you're interested, I can toss in a little wooden and dish scrubber. So anyway, today to start out with, I'm going to try to pull you around so you can see what I got going on here. So to make soap, homemade soap that's not with detergents and all that good stuff, you have to mix, it's a mixture of sodium hydroxide, which is lye, and oils and butters and all that good stuff. So in this bowl here, so what you do is you're going to take your water portion, and in this bowl, or this pot here, I have some distilled water along with some hydrosols that I made with my distiller. I put citric acid in here because this is dish soap, so I want to have this to be an excellent degreaser. And citric acid is going to help with that. And I also have some salt, and that is to help stabilize and create really good bubbles. And then that's the sugar. And then I have salt in here, and the salt helps to harden the bar. And so to this, I'm going to be adding a bunch of sodium hydroxide. And I'm going to be doing that. I got to put on my protective gear. Once I get that sodium hydroxide added in here, I'll bring y'all back. Okay, I just did this whole explanation and my phone wasn't recording. So anyway, I'm just going to explain. So I added my lye to this. This is hydrosol, distilled water, citric acid, salt, and sugar. And this is now, I'll show you. I don't know if I can show you. Let's see. It's about 195 degrees. Very hot stuff and very caustic. So we want to make sure that we do not get this on our skin. So I have my lye solution. So now I'm going to weigh out all of my oils, and in this recipe, I'm going to be using castor oil, coconut oil, lard, tallow, and stearic acid. So I'm going to get all that measured out, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and weigh this with everybody watching, and then I'll probably just speed this up so you don't have to hear me. Anyway. Okay, so in this bowl, when I measured out my water and my citric acid and all that, I was weighing that in grams because I need that to be precise, very, very precise. So now I'm going to change my scale here to ounces. Alright, the first thing we need is going to be 10 ounces of castor oil. .1 ounces. Alright, I'm gonna have to go get me a new jug of that. Castor oil is, it doesn't create bubbles, but it stabilizes your bubbles. So when you get those nice soap bubbles, it gives them structure and it helps them to last a long time. Okay, so we're at 5 ounces. I need 10.1. That's our castor oil. Then I need 36 ounces of coconut oil. And I get the unrefined coconut oil. It's not deodorized or anything like that. Okay, again, 36 ounces. It's 14 ounces. This stuff is so hard. 18 ounces. Halfway there. This is going to be a big old batch of soap. Dish soap can be very stressful because all these are hard oils. Or, well, not the castor oil, but everything else is pretty much a hard oil. And so it makes the soap get really, really thick real fast. And with this recipe, I cannot make this into a loaf of soap because it gets way too hard, way too fast, and it would just crumble when I was trying to cut it into bars. Alright, so we're at 30 ounces. There's 32. 35. We just need about a half an ounce more. Alright, come on. 36. Alright, there's 36 ounces of coconut oil. And then I need to have 42 or 43.2 ounces of lard. Tear my scale out. Alright, again, 43.2. That's 22 ounces. 30 ounces, 36 ounces, 39, 41. I need 43.2. I'm double checking and verifying because if you don't get these measurements right, then you can end up with a lye heavy bar of soap that'll sting your skin, so we do not want that happening. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take these oils and put them in my pot. I'm going to turn my stove here just on a real low temperature. I don't want to heat these up. I just want them to melt. I don't want them to get super duper hot. I ran out of room in my bowl, so I'm going to put this in here, get these melting, and then I'll get my other ingredient, my other oils measured out. Okay, I'm going to tear my scale out again, and then I need 43.2 ounces of tallow. I'm going to have to open another container. 18, 13, 13. Usually I don't wear gloves to measure out of these oils, and I end up with very, very moisturized skin. Alright. Alright, let me get a spatula. We're going to scrape this out the best we can. Alright, 19 ounces. Okay, now I'm going to open this other. Opening these brand new things with tallow and stuff is so difficult. I think it needs to be my husband's job when they first come in. He has to open these. Let me get this open. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, that was crazy, okay? This thing is, these are so hard to open. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish. Now we got 19.4. I need, what did I need? 43.2. It's 26. 34. It's 39. So about 4 more ounces. 41. 43.2. Oh, that's great. Okay. Alright, let me set this aside. Off my hands, and then the last thing I need is 11.52 ounces of stearic acid. Tear out my scale. Once again, I always double check. 11.52. 10, 11.5. And that's a stearic acid. Now we're going to get this cord in here. Scrape every last bit of this out of here. Any of this good stuff behind. Okay, now I just have this on really like a medium low, just to let this all these oils and butters melt. And we'll see if you can look in here. Anyway, we're going to melt those down, and then when that gets melted down, we're going to go ahead and mix our lye solution in here. And right now, the lye solution is still at 166, so it's still pretty hot. I have my fan on my stove to make sure that I'm getting plenty of ventilation. I don't want to breathe in the fumes in off of this stuff. When I first started making soap, I used to do this outside, but we have some outdoor cats out there, and I was always afraid they were going to get into it or knock it over or something, and so I can keep a better eye on it right here, and just having this fan on works really well. So for this recipe, I'm going to be making, okay, this one's going to take 4.5 ounces of essential oils. And when I do these dish soaps, I always use an essential oil that is a citrus, like tangerine, lemon, key lime, something like that. That's really good because it's going to help clean the dishes, make the dishes shine, and it's also will help as a degreaser. So I'll be right back. We're going to get everything ready to get the essential oils ready. Okay, so I have in my little bowl here, I'll turn you back around. Okay, so in this bowl here, I have tangerine, key lime, and lemon essential oil, and I'm telling you, it smells really good. So with essential oils, you have to add some sort of a clay into your essential oil, and it helps to ground that scent into your soap. Since we're not using chemical fragrance oils, we need just a little bit of extra help to try to hold that scent in, because they want to fade out quicker than a chemical fragrance. And we don't want that. We don't want no any chemical fragrances in my stuff. Never. Okay, so I'm going to put 4 tablespoons, because this is a really large batch. So I'm going to put 4 tablespoons of white kaolin clay. The white kaolin clay it adds a lot to soap. It helps to detoxify and pull impurities out of your skin and stuff like that. So it's good for your skin, and it's going to help this bar of soap smell better. So I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to give this a stir until that kaolin clay is pretty well absorbed. Or softened up. I want to make sure it's not going to dissolve because it's a clay, but I want it saturated. I don't want to have dry bits of clay just randomly hanging out in the middle of a bar of soap. Alright, that looks good. And then right before I pour this into there, I'll give it another mix and make sure that there's not any hanging out in the bottom of the bowl. Be careful, let's slap this around. These essential oils are expensive. I don't want to waste anything. And then to this, I'm gonna add 4.5 ounces of vegetable glycerin. The glycerin is also going to help, because when you're doing dishes, it's a very drying soap. You don't want to leave like any kind of super fats or anything like. You don't want to have extra fat hanging out in your soap, which is what we would do if we're making a bath soap. Because we don't want to have a greasy film on your dishes. And so I add the stearic acid is good for retaining moisture in your skin, and vegetable glycerin also helps to retain moisture in your skin. So I'll put that in here just to make sure that when you get done washing your dishes, your hands aren't really dried out. So we're going to add 4.5 ounces of vegetable glycerin. Just about ready to put this scale away for the day. Okay. Tear it out. I need 4.5 ounces. That's 4.3. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's everything I'm going to need. My oils are melting down pretty good. Just very gently melting these down. We don't want to crank this up like we're about to have a fish fry. We want this to gently and very slowly melt these oils down. And then when I make this is like the longest part of making this soap, is just measuring everything out, and then the cleanup is pretty long. But once you put this, you mix this lye in here, with this particular recipe, things speed up really fast. And within probably 5 or 6 minutes of starting this, I'll be putting it in the bowl. So, I'll be watching for that. When all these oils melt down and when I get ready to mix it all together, I'll bring y'all back. Okay, so now My oils have melted down pretty good. My last solution is at 143 degrees. So I still have a little bit of unmelted oils in my pot. I'm gonna try to do something different. Hold on one second. Okay, I got you sitting up here on my counter, so hopefully my phone doesn't fall in this mess. Okay, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour the lye in here, and I want to mention that when you're making soap, it's very important that you pay attention to the material or the equipment that you're using, because you cannot have allow your lye to come in contact with anything aluminum. So when you're making soap, you have to use number 5 plastics that can withstand the heat, or stainless steel, or glass. But glass can also be tricky, because if it's not tempered glass, the heat can cause your stuff to shatter. And so I have that's sitting right here with me. I have a stainless steel and plastic immersion blender that I'm going to use. And when you add the lye in here, it's the heat from the lye is going to mix with these oils, and it's going to agitate everything, and it's going to get this craziness. Sometimes you can have what's called a volcano effect, and so that's why I have this huge pot. I mean, it's only like this deep, but once in a while you might just have like this, it'll just foam up. And you want to have a container that's big enough to keep everything contained. Obviously, we're wearing safety gear. It can be a little bit scary, and a lot of people are intimidated by making soap because they're afraid of lye. But you know what? If you splashed up, if you splashed a piece of fish into some hot grease and the grease splashed up and went in your eye, you would go blind. So it's just taking precautions, wearing the proper safety gear. And so anyway, we're going to go ahead and get this party started, because this is a little bit stressful. And when we get to this is not going to take very long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the lye water in here. I'm going to give it just a quick little stir with my immersion blender, just to see how things are going to behave. And then I probably have to pulse it with my immersion blender, but it's going to get thick pretty fast. So once I reach emulsion where the water and the oils don't separate anymore, then I'll just put the emulsion blender down, and we'll switch to a spatula, add in our essential oils, because these essential oils can sometimes cause this soap batter to lock up, and it ends up being just craziness. But the end result is you get a really nice, awesome dish soap with, so far what you've seen, most everything in here you could eat. So there's no chemicals, there's nothing in here that's bad for you. When you read my ingredient list, you can identify everything. You don't have to go Google search or ask AI, hey, what in the heck is that? Because we all know what this stuff is. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and mix this in and see how it goes. I think I have a little piece of, when you're doing this, you mix the sugar and the salt in there until everything gets dissolved. And if any salt or sugar doesn't get completely dissolved, it'll just turn into a salt crystal in your lye, and we don't want to have anything, or not a salt crystal, it'll turn into like a hard piece of sugar, and I don't want that in my stuff. So I'm going to just strain this out into here through, you can already see it's kind of getting thick there at the bottom. Alright, I'm going to go put this in my sink real quick. the way. Alright, let's see what's happening here. We can already see a reaction happening here. This is going to get really, really hot. So, again, and so the heat from that lye is going to go ahead and finish melting down these this little chunks of coconut oil that's floating around in here. So we're giving a little bit of stir. And here, look what I told y'all, I don't have my goggles on. Gotta have on eye protection because this stuff can splash everywhere. Alright, push this phone back and make sure it doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to take my stick immersion blender and I'm just going to pounce it on the bottom to get any air out. And then I'm just going to pulse it. Finish stirring. We got to get all that stuff melted. Alright, it's already looking a lot like soap. Okay, so you want to stir this or whatever they say till it hits a what's called the light trace. So when you take your wand and you go over the top, you can see on the top of the surface, you can see where your drip lines are. Okay, so I believe I definitely have emulsion here, so I'm going to scrape off my stick blender. This really does happen pretty fast with this recipe because I have so many additives in there. Sometimes you have to use the stick blender for 4 or 5 minutes to get that emulsion and to get to this light trace. But it happens pretty fast with this dish soap. Alright, we'll set that down. Put this over here. I fully expect that when I add these essential oils in here, this is going to go nutso really quick. That is so nice. Okay, so this is usually where it gets a little bit iffy. I'm going to get all that glycerin in there and all those essential oils and that clay all mixed in. And this is where it can get really splashy. So we get all in the corners. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and put my stick blender in here and just make sure that we're getting everything mixed up. See, this stuff is just splashing. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to give this a real quick pulse. And a stir. This soap batter is showing off for y'all because usually this can be very hectic. Okay. So I think we're doing good. I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of this real nice thin batter and go ahead and start getting this poured into my molds over here. Alright, one moment. Okay, so now I got all my bowls set up. What I'm doing today is for a special friend of mine. she wants a bowl of soap and then she wants 3 refills. And so I'm going to get hers done real fast. And eventually I believe I'm going to have to switch over to a big spoon because I don't think this is going to pour very good for long. Yeah, it's getting very, very thick. Alright. This is a mess. Y'all have no idea. This is so messy. Good so far. So far, so good. And it's really important when you're doing this that you keep all your pets away. We don't want pets getting into this stuff, like curious cats. So you also, when you're making these, you need to be mindful of the bowls and stuff that you're using. So if you want to use metal, you need to make sure you're getting stainless steel containers. So that you don't have a reaction. When you mix lye, or when lye comes in contact with aluminum, it creates a nasty, nasty fumes that are actually, it can cause like a complete and total meltdown. It's can be fatal if you breathe it in, so you really have to be very, very cautious about what you're using. Take some of these out of the way. Alright, I'm not going to have enough to fill up all of these bowls, I don't believe. And my own soap dish is out almost, so I need to make some more of that. I'll have to make another batch to fill up mine. And since I'm using 3 of these bowls for refills, my next batch will be to fill up my own bowl and to make 3 more bowls of soap. Alright, now we're going to switch over to my spoon. Be able to pour these for a minute. Okay. This pot is pretty hot. Okay, so there's one more. I might be able to get one more out of this. Let's see. Scrape down the sides of my pot. Over here is what I'm doing. Ooh, I might be able to get those 2 bowls. We'll see. 2 more bowls. I don't think so, so I'm going to just top off some of these other bowls that I have a little bit less in them. So I measured these out before I started to see how much each soap container can hold by weight, not by volume, but by weight. And these soap bowls hold between 16 and 18 ounces of soap. And the 16-ounce bowls already have a home, so the 18-ounce bowls will be what goes up on my page. These soap bowls will last several months. I mean, probably depending on how you do dishes, you know, your method of doing dishes. If you use a dishwasher or something, it's obviously going to last longer. I do use my dishwasher. So my soap usually lasts about 3 or 4 months. And then I don't have to be buying that, you know, store-bought dish soap that's full of chemicals and detergents and all that. So, and also, even like when you use, you know, like the national brands of soap, then you end up, or dish soap, you know, you end up having to bleach out your sink, because especially if you're like us, we drink a lot of coffee and tea. And so, my stainless steel sink will kind of get brown on it, you know, stains, like coffee stains and stuff. And since I use this, I have not had to buy bleach. So, just trying to get away from, you know, as much of the unnatural stuff. We can't completely stay away from it, but we can do the best, you know, let's do what we can. So I'm going to just shake this down. I'm going to grab my, I have some chopsticks that I like to use to kind of stir this around. So, by this evening, these will be, well, probably in the next couple of hours, I'll be able to dump these bowls that have the paper, or the parchment paper, are going to be for refills. And I'll be able to pop those out of here in just a couple of hours. But these are going to get really hot, and so these ceramic bowls, I want to keep an eye on them just to make sure, you know, if there's any stress fractures or something in the bowl that you can't see with your eye. I want to just watch it and make sure the bowls don't shatter. Since I do have some cats in the house, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on this so they don't get into it. But anyway, there it is, y'all. That's how I make these dish soaps. I know it's not a professional video. I'm not a professional video person. I'm just a soap maker. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and then tomorrow I will probably show some videos on, or some photographs of this soap finished, and then we'll figure out all the nitty gritty details of how much they cost. These soaps, after about 24 to 48 hours, they are safe to use. So we have, in soap making, we have this term, it's called curing. We like to let our soaps cure. And that isn't because it's toxic or it's going to burn you or anything like that. But the longer the soap sits, the more moisture that's able to evaporate out of the soap, the harder the soap will be and the longer it will last. But these soaps, usually, like when I make mine, I'll let it sit for a day or two and then I start using it. The key to keeping these soaps and having them last a really long time is to use your soap And then make sure when you're done with it that you turn the bowl over. Let it drain all the water out. Make sure there's no standing water in the bowl. Because that'll turn, it's just like any bar of soap, even if you get a bar of soap from Walmart, if you let it sit in water, it's going to turn into a slimy mess. And we don't want that to happen. So we're just going to, every time you use it, you're just going to drain all the water off. And then allow it to dry completely, or let it dry out in between uses and stuff. So, but that's it. If you have any questions or any comments, please let me know. And I appreciate you all stopping by and watching this session of making homemade citrus dish soap. Have a great day. Okay, as an afterthought, I decided I'm going to go ahead and do a lather test for you. This is the same recipe here that I have in this little bowl. So I'm just going to show you how this works. Okay, so when you first get your soap ready, and when you go to use it, you have to, it's going to get real dry on the top. And so you have to kind of wake the soap up a little bit. So when you purchase the soap, if you like, I can, I'm running low on these, but I can get some more. But I'll put one of these soap scrubbers with it. So you want to just take your soap and get it wet. And y'all, I have a pile of dishes in this thing. And you just want to wake that soap up. Get her all woke up. Okay. This is the same, pretty much the same thing applies if you've purchased any of my shaving soaps. So you want to wake that soap up. Okay, look at our thing. I'm going to show you what I use to wash dishes. I don't usually use one of these. Get a towel out to lay these dishes on. Alright. So you're just going to scrub it. Now this is going to break down all those oils and all that good stuff, that I made that soap. This is all my soap making equipment that I just used. Okay, so you can use, this scrubby brush. It's not really a good demonstration of how awesome this soap is. So let me rinse these and I'll show you what I use. So if you go in the bath section at Walmart or Dollar General or wherever, you can pick up these little loofahs for $1. So I'll use this for a while. I throw it in the washing machine if it gets, when it gets nasty or something. Or for $1, I'll just toss it and go get a new one. But anyway, so what I do is I'll take my loofah, lay it on here, give it a turn, and then I just turn it. Like that. My cats are getting into mischief back there. Okay, you can just see the bubbles that's already coming up on this. So typically, I can wash my entire kitchen or all my dishes with this. Alright, let's turn that water off for a second. Alright. This does really well at keeping my stainless steel, the bottoms of my pots nice and clean. And I don't normally do dishes with these gloves on, but I'm dealing with probably maybe some lingering lye in some of this equipment, so I'm still got my safety gear on. Not my goggles, but so you can see how nice and bubbly that is. And if you start losing the bubbles, you can just pop it like that. You know, get a little soap back on there, and just a couple more. Put it aside. Y'all, it smells like lemonade. It smells so good. Like a mix between a tangerines and a lemonade. But, I originally learned how to make, soap from a channel on YouTube called Ellen Ruth Soaps. She is an amazing, amazing teacher. She has definitely the heart of a teacher. And she explains things. And then for a long time I used her recipes. And then between her and Ellie's everyday soap making, I learned how to use the soap calculator. And I was able to just incorporate what I want in my soaps. And so now I build my own recipes. I choose all my own ingredients. I don't go by somebody else's recipes. When you add citric acid to soap, the citric acid actually eats part of that lye. And so you have to do like this mathy thing and this sciencey thing, and make adjustments to how much lye you put in your soap. And that's what I have to do when I make my soaps. But the citric acid also works as like a binder, and so it keeps, well, how do you say it? So like when I put it in my soap, like my bars of soap, it makes it to where when you go to rinse the soap off your skin, it rinses off easily. So I like to add it to that because people don't like to have, a lot of complaint I think with homemade soap is that it takes, you know, you wash with it, and then when you go to rinse, your skin feels like you still have soap on there. So the citric acid just helps that soap release off of your skin and helps you to rinse easier. Just a whole lot of reasons I like to add citric acid. And I use food grade citric acid. The same stuff you'd use if you were pickling pickles or something. But anyway, I'm not going to make y'all watch me do this whole load of dishes. But anyway, that's how you use it. And then just to keep everything nice and tidy and clean, I'll just take my soap and rinse it off. I rinse the bottom. Hold it upside down, let it drain. And then just set it aside for it to dry out. And then make sure dish it. I mean, I'm going to see. I don't know if they'll do it with rubber gloves on. But make sure this is very squeaky. Squeaky clean. So anyway, I think that's about all I have for y'all today. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching me make soap. If you want to order any, you can send me a message on Facebook. I have my Southern Bath and Body page, and then I also have my personal page. Most of my soap stuff on my personal page is public. I do try to keep my family posts and stuff like that private. But my soap stuff on my personal page is usually public. But you can message me on that. Southern Bath and Body. And I'm also on Instagram. I'm not an Instagram person, y'all, but I try. My daughter said that Facebook is for old people. So she's the Instagram queen and all her friends. But I've been using Facebook a long time, so I'm just comfortable with it. But I do have, so I have an Instagram, and it's under the same name, Southern Bath and Body. If you want to follow me on those, I'd appreciate it. And share if you like, if you know people who want to buy soaps and lotions and that kind of thing that have all natural ingredients. I don't use any dyes. I don't use mica powders or anything like that. If anything of mine is colored, I use kaolin clay, Brazilian clays, calamine clay. I use things like rhubarb root for red, and I use spirulina to get a dark green color, or I use French green clay. So I use pretty much clays and natural food additives to get my colors. So anyway, I appreciate y'all so much, and I thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Have a wonderful afternoon. Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to be making some dish soap, and we're going to actually be putting them in. I'm going to be putting the soap in these bowls. I have all kinds of different bowls that I got, and we're just going to make some dish soap. It's a hard bar of dish soap, and today I'm going to be making a very large batch. I'm making, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 15 or 16 of these bowls of soap to get ready. They're going to need to cure for a little bit before, they need to cure and dry out some, so that the longer they dry out before they're used, the better and harder the bar will be, or the bowl will be, and so it'll last a really, really long time. Just for an example, this is one of the bowls of soap that I made some time ago, and I just had extra. This was my grandmother's bowl. So I had some extra, so I just poured it in, or dumped it into this bowl. So this is what we're going to be making today. And when I sell my soaps, if you're interested, I can toss in a little wooden and dish scrubber. So anyway, today to start out with, I'm going to try to pull you around so you can see what I got going on here. So to make soap, homemade soap that's not with detergents and all that good stuff, you have to mix, it's a mixture of sodium hydroxide, which is lye, and oils and butters and all that good stuff. So in this bowl here, so what you do is you're going to take your water portion, and in this bowl, or this pot here, I have some distilled water along with some hydrosols that I made with my distiller. I put citric acid in here because this is dish soap, so I want to have this to be an excellent degreaser. And citric acid is going to help with that. And I also have some salt, and that is to help stabilize and create really good bubbles. And then that's the sugar, and then I have salt in here, and the salt helps to harden the bar. And so to this, I'm going to be adding a bunch of sodium hydroxide. And I'm going to be doing that. I got to put on my protective gear. Once I get that sodium hydroxide added in here, I'll bring y'all back.